Hello, and welcome to the latest installment of the Aras Innovator demo series. Today we're going to talk about Agile for the Enterprise with Safe Portal. The demo series runs for 30 minutes and features all demo with no sales pitch. Each installment showcases a different capability of the Aras platform. We have on the line today Crystal Brandl, Product Manager at Aras. Crystal, take it away.
Thanks, Nicole. Hey everyone, and thank you for joining me today as I demonstrate the Safe Portal. For those of you unfamiliar with our internal tool, the Safe Portal is Aras's solution to managing our development using the SAFE methodology. And in order to provide incremental value to our customers more frequently, we transitioned from waterfall to agile. And specifically, we chose to use SAFE. In order to support our new process, we needed a new tool because our existing software management tool that we built was for our waterfall approach. So what you will see here today is developed based on the SAFE framework. However, it is flexible enough to use any agile methodology. This is just how we crafted our item types and properties. So you'll see a lot of very SAFE specific item types today. You might be using a different methodology in Agile, and so maybe some of the terminology won't be the same, but just keep in mind that we're using SAFE, and so that's what you'll be viewing today. And also, this is a step towards embedded software management, which is not officially on our roadmap yet, but it is in our vision. So we recognize that software delivery fits into the complete product, bundled with hardware and electronics. So what you see here today could fit your business's needs for software delivery. But just as we needed to define our own process and build a tool around it, you also could use Innovator today to build a tool around your process. So hopefully you get some good ideas here from this demo. So what you'll see in this demo is not standard product. However, the platform is flexible for you to do this today with your own instances of Innovator. Today I'll be demoing in Chrome. I'm in 11.0 SP15 test environment using test data. And this environment is our internal instance of Innovator. So it's not the standard out-of-the-box Innovator that you're used to seeing in demos. So you are getting a preview of how we do business here at Aras using our own platform. We've created inside our own instance a talk element for the Safe Portal, and within it we see new item types we've created. We have permissions driving what is available in the talk, just like you have in your instances. But what we are seeing here is the full gamut because I have admin rights. So let's dive in, starting with Agile Release Trains, and view the Mountaineer train. This train is assigned to the product MakerBot Replicator, and we can configure the amount of iterations per PI and how many business days each iteration will run for. And when I create a new PI and corresponding iteration items for this train, it will automatically generate my dates for me, which is why we have this nice configuration assistant here. So at Aras, what we're doing is 5 iterations per PI for 2 weeks or 10 business days. We can assign agile or system teams to this train. We can list any non-functional requirements that must be satisfied to approve any item assigned to this train. And we also have some nice aggregator relationships that show all features and issues that are assigned to this train. And we also have some nice metrics as well. First, we see the Team PI Performance Report, and we can sort by PI. In PI2, we had 3 teams active, so we are seeing all goals aggregated on this chart. And we can also see the business value assigned during PI planning and then the actual value achieved once the PI was completed. But this view might be hard to digest, so we have a second chart to the right for another view of these same metrics. So you can see in our chart for program predictability measure that we had only one team active in PI1, and then we had 3 teams active going forward, indicated by the dotted lines. In this graph is the percentage of actual value achieved per team. And it also gives a nice average of all the teams indicated by the solid orange line. So we can see that we had a rough PI2 for 2 teams, but then we came back strong in PI3 to achieve our goals. And we can use the first graph to see what objectives we failed on in the details. And then at the bottom, we have some nice program performance metrics. And this is for all PIs. So we are active right now in this test data in PI 12. And so these metrics are going to update as the items assigned update. So let's now jump to the product form next, and I can show you that. So here we can define what our product is and what releases are tied to that product. And we can also state any milestones that we want to track. So in Agile, we're taught not to work towards a due date, but to release as functionality is developed. But we all know that that isn't always practical. So we have designed milestones to populate on our program boards so we don't lose track of hard deliverables and dates. And I'll show you how these populate on our program boards when we look at PI items next. But we use milestones today to note corporate events like ACE, when we plan to deliver and showcase certain functionality. We also use milestones to note any hard dates that we need to hit to release our service packs in a certain time or within a certain time frame. And we sometimes note if a customer has communicated their own deadlines for a particular functionality, because we want to make sure we deliver patches or releases on time based on our customer schedules as well. And these milestones are very important for embedded software management. So you might have a hard deadline for hardware that your software needs to hit. So having these dates tracked and visible is very important across the organization. And moving on, we have again a feature aggregator. This is going to list all features that relate to the product. We have all program increments that are listed for this product. And we also have product areas associated with this product. So a very large product often has focus teams, sometimes broken down by product areas. So this is how we work at Aras, right? And you can assign items to a particular product area to search on those backlogs instead of viewing the whole product backlog. So really this helps us a great deal in searchability in our search grids, and our search grids are very standard search grids like you would expect. And then again, we also have non-functional requirements. So here we see a lot of items because this is to ensure consistency and quality for all teams, for all features across this product. And we use this list for all teams. They must pass the same criteria for their definition of done. So we can target these NFRs to features, to issues, or tasks, and we can also target them to a particular state in the life cycle as well, when they should be done. Let's next open a completed program increment. Inside, we find all of the iterations that are assigned to this PI. So like I mentioned, we run 2-week iterations and 5 iterations within a PI. We also see our features and our issues assigned to this PI aggregated for us. We see the teams working in this PI. So here we have 3 teams. And we also see listed all of the team objectives that are set by the teams during PI planning. We also have some program-specific objectives. And we have non-functional requirements. So this might be handy for any specific criteria that only relates to work being done within that PI. But typically we don't work with these, we work at the product level. And in the sidebar, you'll first see a nice program level board here. Let me zoom out so you can get the full effect of the board. So here is a program level board highlighting the features and the dependencies per team. All items are colored by classification, and you can click on any item to open it directly from the board. At the top, the first row is for milestones. So here we see 2 of our milestones in orange. And they're listed here because they're associated to the product that this PI is related to. And the calendar we also see highlighted pink on our milestone dates. So this is very nice that we have a nice overview of how our milestones relate to our work during this PI. And then also you'll notice we see some features listed here. So if a team is unassigned to the PI, so remember back on the form when we assign teams, if a team is unassigned to the PI, they still might be doing work, or maybe they work across multiple PIs. They're not assigned to a specific PI. Well, in that case, the feature wouldn't populate in the team rows. And so if a feature is unassigned, we have it populate up on top with the milestones because we don't want to lose track of that visibility. And also any item in general will populate that has a related feature to this PI. So we like to really make sure that we are seeing the full gamut of everything. And then below, here are all the teams assigned to the PI and the iterations that the features are planned to be completed in. We see all of our dependencies marked by red arrows. So for example, this enabler feature 25 is a prerequisite for 3 features. So as a product manager for the MakerBot Replicator, I have a clear view of my roadmap during the PI. Next, I will jump to PI specific metrics, and let me go ahead and fix this zoom for you. Our first chart is a burn down chart. We have our remaining effort charted on the left and the count of issues charted on the right. And our bar chart is showing how many issues we completed during the PI along our bottom axis, which is our calendar day. So we're seeing all the days of the month and how many issues were completed on that day. If we were active in this PI, only the data accumulated so far for those active days would show. So the data is easy to digest because if I was logging in and looking at this data and we were in the middle of the PI, I'm going to see a bigger chart focusing on everything that was completed for that PI. And then below we have our flow diagram. So we currently have this configured for a lot of life cycle states, so we can track where work in progress is getting blocked. But we can configure this for as little or as many states as we want to see. So right now we choose to see this level of data, so that is why you're seeing a lot of states listed here. And our last view is the PI planning board. So I switched to an item that has some nice test data in it to show you our PI planning board. And this board is to virtually represent the paper boards and the sticky notes that you typically use during PI planning. One setback we had when we began this process was that many resources had to travel to one central location to participate in PI planning, but it wasn't realistic to travel every 10 weeks. And so we created these boards virtually to allow hands-on participation from any location during planning. So on the left, we have listed all issues grouped by their features that are assigned to this PI, but not yet assigned to an iteration. So if you expand the features, you get all the cards within them. So this allows you to focus on one specific feature at a time. And in the iteration columns, we have all the work already assigned, and we have a simple card that lists the issue number, the name, the lifecycle state, and the story points. And then when I hover over, I get that nice description. So I don't have to open the item if I don't recall what this story is about. And we also see the coloring on the cards based on the classification of the issue. Also, I don't need to open the item to change or update the story points or the life cycle state. And so it's really nice to be able to just change this data right from the PI planning board without having to go and edit or lock my item. And we also see that these items are grouped under features. And so this is to help organize issues by their parent features. So for example, feature 655 here spans across multiple iterations. So it's listed in each column. But the main use case for this board is to do team PI planning. So let's go back to our filter and let's filter by Team Backstreet. And we see that they have completed their PI planning. And since we're looking at one team, now we have metrics. So in each column, we have the ability to state the team capacity. And we can also see our team's average velocity, and we have a calculation for our iteration load. So as I drag and drop my cards, I can update the load based on where I drop it. So, and I get this nice shadowing as well, so I can see where I'm dropping my issue. And then once I release the card, I'll be able to see the load update, and it's going to sum up all of the story points for that iteration, and it's going to update the load. So I just dropped it, and my load went from 6 to 9. Okay, now let's change gears and let's look at some forms, right? What do these user stories actually look like? So I won't cover all the properties and relationships since we don't have much time, but this is what a standard user story looks like. So we have the item type issue that has multiple classifications, and one of our classification is user story. We also have others like bug and enabler. And each classification, we have a custom form and a custom lifecycle to accommodate for the type of work and the details that are needed. So here we see all the typical information that we need to create and fulfill a user story, including the acceptance criteria. And one cool feature I want to note that we implemented was notifications on changed acceptance criteria. So any updated acceptance criteria to an item in the backlog or in active development will trigger a notification to the Agile team that's assigned, and it'll note exactly what was changed. So ideally, any work that already is sized or in progress, it should have stable acceptance criteria that doesn't change. And it's important to know when that changes and why. So these notifications really are an important way that we found to manage our issues and manage our changing scope. And below, we can also, directly from this form, create issues or tasks. And this is going to pull all the same relationship data and going to create a new item with those relationships already provided. So instead of using our typical create a new item from the toolbar, we can create an item with these existing relationships. So I'm going to go ahead and click on create issue. I see I can create a prerequisite or a follow-on to create that relationship. And it'll also, because it is a parent feature, already pre-assign it to that feature. And as well, if there's any planning already done, like a PI or anything like that. So it's really handy when you have to go ahead and log bugs against user stories, because it'll populate all of that data already for you, and you just have to alter a few things and then submit it. So our big goal with us at Aras is to have the most productive tool as possible. We want to eliminate manual work wherever we can. And so that is why we created these nice little tools down here. We also have our relationships. We have a summary tab. And so, like I said, we can see any related issues, any tasks that are a child to this issue. We can add any prerequisites that are already existing items by the relationship tab. We can add attachments. We can add a deliverable. We can review our definition of done. So this is a nice checklist here of the definition of done. We can mark when it's completed and any comments against it. We also have a nice history tab of what's gone on with this item, and we can also relate any commits. So we can see all of our commits against this item as well. And let's look at the parent feature for this issue. So we have here all the same, for the most part, properties, all the same relationships. But what we have here that I do want to note is our wish shift. And so sometimes we have customer requirements or deadlines that don't allow us to follow true wish shift. So here we have the calculation up here in the value based on these properties, but here we have a manual override where we can actually change the rank in how we sort on the search grid by applying a manual override. So we know that sometimes we have customer requirements or deadlines that it doesn't allow us to follow true wish shift sometimes. So we've created that functionality in our instance. We also have, I'll show you a nice tree grid view summary here of all the related features and issues. And so we can see at a nice high level, product managers really have a good idea of what's going on, what the state of everything is, just by visiting the feature itself. Let's last look at a team. We support both System and Agile as team classifications. We can see a list of all members and their roles. Each member listed here receives a daily email report that we configured of all of the lifecycle promotions during the active iteration. So as a product manager, product owner, or a scrum master, I can have a nice summary of what changed and see how my work is moving and what's moving, and I don't have to dig around in the system. The next relationship is for all issues assigned to the team that are not complete yet. So this is really the team's backlog. It is what the team is currently working on and what they will be working on. So anything that is still work in progress. Next, we have the definition of workflow, which is our definition of done for the team, but we call it workflow because we assign it to lifecycle states and when it should be completed. So we take it a step further. Then we have velocity, so we can see how well historically the team is doing. We have iteration goals. So we have our teams break down our PI objectives into iteration goals, and we look at if we achieve them or not. And we review it during the system demo as a nice qualitative way to see how the team's doing as a report. And next, these are those PI objectives that the team defines during PI planning. And so we saw these items earlier populate on the PI team objectives tab as well in the train metrics. And all of this data is managed at the team level, right? The team populates their objectives. And so this is where that data is pulling from. And our last tab is WIP limits for our team Kanban. So let's immediately jump to the Kanban board so we can see what that looks like, and I'll show you how that WIP limit takes action for us. So here we see our team issue level Kanban. We have all of our lifecycle states in each column. I'll just drag it over for you so you can get a full look at what our Kanban looks like. Some of our lifecycle states are grouped by an overall category. We see that 2 out of 5 here, that WIP limit for the implementing state that we had on our team. And we see in the column, there's 2. So we have the count here out of 5 maximum that we want. We didn't make this restrictive. You could if you wanted, but we allow the promotions regardless of the WIP limit to occur. But once we reach our WIP limit and go to say 6 cards, the column will turn red. So we wanted to not restrict the promotions, but instead just alert the team that we've breached a WIP limit. And we have cards for each issue listing their number, their name, who it's assigned to. So if you hover over the person, you get the nice card there. And the progress. So I can hover over and I can see that this is 85% complete in the analysis state. So I know we're almost done with that. And all cards have that same classification coloring that we've seen on other views too. And if we hover, we get the issue description in a tooltip, so we don't have to click and open the item to refresh our memories of what this is. And we can also see how many tasks are assigned to the issue by the purple icon in the count. We also have this nice blocking indicator here. So we've chosen to make visible on our cards if we've set the priority to blocking level. And so this is a nice indicator of, I see that, okay, this item needs to go first. And the whole team understands to pull this item and make sure it's the top priority of what we're working on. We can also do some nice promotions here. So we can promote across the life cycle states. We don't have to promote just one by one state. We can promote across, and we can also do some mass promote. So I'm going to select multiple cards and I'll mass promote across life cycle states. So you can see how that looks. And I can also change the priority. So when I drag and drop, it's going to prioritize all these issues in order for me from highest to lowest. And so if I want to change the manual ranking, I don't have to open the item to do that and lock it and then save and lock and close. I can actually just take this card and I can drag and I can change the priority by dropping it within that same column. So if I chose to promote across the columns, it wouldn't change priority. It only changes priority when I'm dragging and dropping within the column itself. Okay, so I'll let that go, and now it's going to reprioritize. We also can apply some filtering. So if I want to just look at one particular person's assigned issues, or if I want to look at the active iteration I'm in or a past iteration, I can do that as well. So I can do all the standard Innovator functions here on this board that I could do in the search grid, plus some new actions with that re-ranking. So we see here that this issue is locked, and so when I go to try to promote it, I'm going to get this nice error that we're used to seeing. I'm not allowed to promote, and on my card, I am also going to see this nice error message that I tried to do something but I couldn't. So we like to make things very visible, and I can just refresh my board to eliminate that error if it is bothersome for me. And these boards, just so you know, have a hard refresh like all items in Innovator. So I can refresh my view at any time to get the latest status of my issues. And we also have the same view for features. So the team and the product manager can easily see these features and what state they're in if they want more detail beyond the program board on the PI item that we saw earlier. And all the same card functions work here as well. We can promote features just like we could issues, which is really nice sometimes for moving things along. And with that, I'm going to end my demo. I hope that you are able to see the flexibility of how you can also apply this to your instances if you are interested in managing your software development in Innovator as well. And at this time, I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you so much for your attention.
All right, thank you, Crystal. Make sure to enter in any questions you have into the questions panel. We are at time, but I'm going to take a few of these submitted questions. So, Crystal, is there a way to view resources that are over allocated? Or more generally, is there a way to view resource allocations in general?
Yeah, so what we've done for resource allocation today is on our Agile members per team, you can allocate the person to a particular percentage of that team. We don't have it turned on, but we have found a way to not allow you to allocate a person once they're at maximum capacity of 100. So it would do an aggregation across all the teams that person's assigned to. So for example, I'm product owner on this team, and if I were to change this to 100, it wouldn't let me because I'm also allocated on other teams as well.
So you mentioned that others can take part in this. So one of these questions relates to, hi, this portal demo data model available on Aras website to download. So how can they start using this functionality?
Well, how you can start using it is really you need to first identify and understand what your internal process is, because what we have learned very particularly when we created this was that not necessarily the safe prescription worked for us because of just the uniqueness of our business and what we need to do in order to get software out the door. And so what we did was we built our own item types just like you can do today. I understand that sometimes it's easier to start with an existing item types, and then modify them. We absolutely believe that at Aras to provide as much of a jump start for you. But today we haven't worked out all of the kinks ourselves, and we are still developing internally and making this to what we need to be. We just started Agile about a year ago. The tool is very immature, but once we are able to provide some type of solution to our customers, absolutely we will do that. But as of right now, we are still focused on our own internal process and our own internal tool to identify what we need. And then we will, once we've gathered all those lessons learned, find a way or make a route for it to be available to others. So to be continued.
Okay. How does this connect to GitHub? Is there a way to leverage DevOps for Microsoft that is connected to GitHub?
We do have some connections. So we actually have nice Git commits that we can connect to that auto-populate inside of our portal for us. So we do have a lot of different connections we've played with across the company, just all the different third-party tools that we use. And so we do have figured out a way to make those connections.
All right. Where do you store requirements documents?
Oh, that is under deliverables. So what we do today is we can either on a feature or an issue store a deliverable item. What we have, you can classify a deliverable as really anything. It could be a test case, it could be a requirements document, it could be a simple mock-up. And so what we did was we created our own deliverables item type, which is basically one giant relationship and container holder for all of this information. We can link deliverables and create a deliverable that links back to a document item. So the same document item type that you use in Standard Innovator, we also use ourselves. And so we have a lot of links that way that do drive us back to requirement documents. And also we're experimenting going forward, connecting with our actual requirement engineering application itself to try to figure out if we can start changing the way we do requirements that way. And so really the possibilities are endless, right? It's once you identify how you want to work with your deliverable items, then it's just a matter of building the tool around it.
How do you map feature dependencies?
Oh, that is under prerequisites. So I can either, once I have a feature created, I can create another feature relationship, which will allow me to create that relationship right away. So I can create a prerequisite or a follow-on. A lot of times we do this because we start with a feature and we don't realize that, first we need this enabler for this type of technology before we can go forward. And so we'll create a prerequisite. If a feature already exists, if you have multiple features in the system and you just want to link them, you can do that through the prerequisites tab by adding the relationship to that feature item. And then that's how the relationships are derived in our program board. So it just simply looks at that relationship and it maps it out for us.
All right, we're only going to take one more question here since we are over time. Where do non-functional requirements populate?
Non-functional requirements are created at all the different levels. For NFRs here, what we do, our process is really around the product. We focus on what it means to deliver a consistent and stable product across any team that's working in that product. And so we create our NFRs directly on the product. But an NFR also could be related to the train. So you could have the whole train working against NFRs, or on the PI, say you have a PI that's geared toward one specific area and you want NFRs just for that development period. And so you can do it there as well. Once you create the NFRs, they populate on the items that they're targeted to. So here we have issues, we can also do features, and when I go to my issue item or my feature item, that's all going to populate under my definition of done tab. Basically, this definition of done tab populates all the aggregated definition of workflow for the team and any NFR that it's related to. So this MakerBot replicator that's assigned the relationship here through this property, that's how it knows to pull that same list for this definition of done. And then you get some nice check boxes where you can say, yes, it's completed, no, it hasn't been done, and you can write some comments against each row.
All right. Thank you, Crystal, and thank you for your questions. For any we didn't answer, they will be addressed directly within the next few days. I'm going to leave you with our upcoming demo series topics. On July 25th, we will hear from our Aras Labs team to learn how you can accomplish more with the Aras community. And then we will be returning on August 29th, where we will learn more on working seamlessly across the enterprise with visual collaboration. You can register for upcoming demos and view any past demos at aras.com/demo series. We'd love for you to join the Aras community at community.aras.com. There you'll find blogs, community projects, and forums, all with a lot of great information. Be sure to connect with Aras on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, where we share the latest updates and news, product information, and more. Finally, don't miss ACE Europe this November. We'd love to see you there to answer your questions, get your feedback, and take the opportunity to network with the PLM community, the Aras team, our partners, and more. We thank you for joining us today and look forward to having you visit next time. Thank you and have a great day.